Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of Sideline Sports Podcast. I am your host, Alex Naveja, and with me tonight, in a little bit of a short notice, is Brent Potvin, the man, the legend for 22 West Media. He's giving me the permission to host Sideline Sports Podcast in a night in, day out time. Again, Brent, thank you so much for showing up and for allowing me to use the studio.
Anytime, Alex. You know you're welcome in here as long as, we're allowed to have you in.
Episode 6 of Sideline Sports Podcast is brought to you by Lean Mean Meals. We can get all your meal prep done. They also provide with you cold brewed coffee along with detox, juices, and very much more. We also have a promo code. It is Sideline10. You can get 10% off with your orders with meal prep. So make sure to sign up today. I mean, I could definitely use some meal prep.
I could use a lot.
Well,
not a lot, a little actually, probably better. A lot would probably just expand me more, but hey.
But without further ado, Brent, let's go ahead and get things started. But in sad developing news, I know all of you guys know, but Mike Trout is out for the remainder of the season. I know there's not much to the season left, but still, bad enough. Mike Trout, MVP candidate year in, year out, is out and leading, and easy to say, leading in all offensive categories.
Yeah, I don't think this hurts Trout as much as most people think. The MVP race, I think he's got. He's 8 wins above replacement. He's way above most of the people. I mean, he's second on active players currently. And I don't even know where he is all time, but he's already on that list, which is insane. But another thing is this is actually probably pretty good for the Angels. More lost games, better draft picks. Because you got to remember, I mean, there's nothing that they were playing for anyway. And they might not be playing for anything next year. So the big thing is playing to do the one stat that Mike Trout has nothing of. He has a donut in wins in the playoffs. And when you have a player, as I said before the show, he's Hank Aaron. He might be better than Hank Aaron. You need to get this guy in the playoffs, and more importantly, in the World Series. Like, his career is predicated on wins. I mean, that's the same thing we're having with Kershaw. Kershaw's gotten to the World Series, sure, and he's had that. But previously, what was it? Oh, he doesn't show up in the playoffs. Nothing to write home about. Trout needs that story. He needs that narrative to help his career. I mean, he has already got the stats down. He's got the numbers. He's got all of the intangibles that you need, but he doesn't have the one thing that you can physically grasp, and that's that trophy.
He needs that the luxury. He needs the bling on his hand.
Big rings.
And I think he should get the extra big ring just because he's Mike Trout and because he can. He probably has so many MVP trophies there in his.
I don't think he cares about this anymore, honestly. There's just nothing.
He'd probably trade any of those MVP trophies for a World Series one right there.
Yeah, and that's why I thought for a while until he signed that deal, I thought he was gone. I thought he was going to leave that team because they didn't show any reason for him to stay. And obviously he's also kind of a weird cat. He's not big on the big markets. He could have been a Yankee, and he could have been in the World Series every year and been dominating, but he isn't. He decided to take this huge deal with the Angels and stay in SoCal and in Anaheim, which to me is incredible. And it shows maybe he's confident of the team, which has a rising farm system, might have some stuff come down the pipe. They have Ohtani. Ohtani's a really good player. Pujols will eventually retire and stop dragging that team down. There's so many. They got some young talent coming up too as well. Cole Calhoun. He's a good player. I saw him when they played the Mariners. And the pitching staff, it's okay. It's getting better. It's definitely getting better. And this season was just one of those seasons where you can throw a wash. I mean, Tyler Skaggs, tragic death. Now this. I mean, it's been a rough year for the Angels. And also Shohei Ohtani is also out for the year, I think, right?
Shohei Ohtani is still...
Which I don't think he should have ever played. I don't think he ever should have played this season. They should have let him heal.
I think the Angels really thought that they had a shot this year. I think they really thought
they were misguided.
No, I mean, you look at that American League West. You have the
you got to beat the Astros.
You have the Astros. You have the Rangers. Can even be a sleeper team as well.
Yeah.
So that could be a team that could be really very much in the mix.
But they're in such a tough conference. It's one of those things where if you don't know for sure, and this is the team. I mean, you got Houston, which has a dominant pitching rotation now. They've got a dominant bats. They've got a great bullpen. Like, how are you going to beat that? You've got to hope for a wild card. And yeah, wild card teams win in the MLB. But the big thing is you've got to get there. And it's a challenge when you're at the bottom, second to bottom. The only reason why you're at the bottom is because my poor Seattle Mariners and my boy J.P. Crawford is Just they're rebuilding. Like, they're legitimately rebuilding. That's the only reason why they're not in last place. The Mariners were actually a good team last year, had they not traded everyone away. So the Angels, technically, if you think about it, they're technically the last place in that division because they're the ones actually competing. So I think that's part of the problem, and that's why the Angels need to get some builds, get some more of those farm guys up, and get them ready to go. I mean, maybe sign free agents, although I don't trust the free agency signings because, I mean, Josh Hamilton, Pujols, that's just, it's one of those things where you're confused on that sometimes. But we'll see. I mean, there's always a chance to get there, and if they get a good pitching line, some good pitching, they could be something because their offense is pretty good.
I just think the Angels really need a really solid starting rotation, and even if they do have that, I still feel like they're going to compete in the AL West.
Yeah, I agree. A good starting rotation, a decent bullpen. And I mean, let's be honest. Pitching is absolutely guaranteed one of the most important, probably the most important part in all baseball. When you see, look at the Yankees, for example. The Yankees got mediocre starting pitching, but they just out-hit everybody. But if they had good pitching, I mean, they would be even more dominant. It's insane. Look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers are the best example of what pitching can do for you. That starting rotation is so deep that they have to have starters as relievers.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's true.
It's just one of those things where the pitching is just incredible. That the Angels can get decent pitching, they're there. And, there's a chance that they could sign people. I mean, Hyun-Jin Ryu, for example, is a free agent, and who knows if the Dodgers are going to sign him. That might be too much for them. They only took him back because he took a qualifying offer. So who knows? It's one of those things where he could just literally just go, oh, you know what? I can just go down to 5 and be good. So who knows? That's the thing with the Angels is they're in a space where one offseason can fix that. And then they're back.
So the Angels, right now, trying to figure things out, going to go into the offseason, see if they're going to be buyers or even sellers moving forward. But now, let's talk about some red-hot NFL football. A lot of buzz going into LA football. Let's first talk about that Rams-Saints game. Let me be the first one to say I'm disappointed, and I mean, I would have liked Drew Brees to play, and I would have liked to see a Brees versus Goff
The big
match.
thing about that, though, sorry to interrupt, but Brees, did you see how he hurt himself?
Donald, it was a
Aaron
monster.
Donald is so strong, he slapped him and tore ligaments in his thumb. Like,
ridiculous.
Aaron Donald is the human equivalent of a superhero. Like, I've seen him pick up a lineman and throw him into the quarterback to sack the quarterback. Like, this dude is insanely inhuman.
I mean, when you look at Aaron Donald, too, and when he's trying to go across the O-line and go for the quarterback, like, an offensive lineman can't even block him. They need to double-team him. They need to double-team the big guy.
Have you noticed his numbers this year? No sacks. None of that. He's not even done a tackle for a loss. He's only done 2 tackles, and he's only hit the quarterback twice. The reason why is because there hasn't been a single play this season where he's been single-covered. And when he does, those are the times he got to him. And that's the craziest about it. They're double and even triple-teaming him, which is why those sacks are being spread out. That's why you see Dante Fowler getting some, and other players like that. I mean, even the back and the linebacker core, Clay Matthews and them, they're having a field day. That's because the effect Aaron Donald has on defenses alone is so insane. It's like there was a metric last year. Like, Aaron Donald is better at being his position than Tom Brady is at being a quarterback. Like, that's how insane of the numbers Aaron Donald is. And Aaron Donald almost broke the sack record last year, and he didn't get a single sack in the first 4 games. So just imagine, and he's only 2 games in, and he hasn't got a single sack. Imagine when he explodes. I feel, and it might be against Baker Mayfield. It might be against the Browns. Because, man, first off, Baker is known to get himself in trouble. That line, I don't know if that's it. And especially that Browns team, I don't know if that did either. Aaron Donald might explode for that game. But they're just because of the Aaron Donald factor, that defense is insane. Because of that. And now they have an even balance around it that helps out too. Last year with the Ndamukong Suh, I mean, that was good and all, but Ndamukong didn't really work with that. It didn't feel like it worked until like late season in the playoffs. But now they got linebackers that can handle things, like Clay Matthews having resurgence, which as a Packer fan, I didn't think that was possible. And there's, Eric Weddle's doing great in the secondary. There's just so many great things about that defense. And then the scariest thing is the offense is even better. Like, that's what's scary about that Rams team. Like, the only thing that you can really say is a weakness is maybe the special teams return, but you don't really need that in the NFL now. And maybe the line. The line's not looking good right now. The offensive line, I mean. The offensive line doesn't look good, but, man, even with that, Todd Gurley and Malcolm Brown are still eating. Like, and Jared Goff is looking better. He's been under pressure more than he's been in the last 2 years combined by now, I think. It feels like. He's just always under pressure, still making good throws, still working really well. Sean McVay, I think, is the next coming of an intelligence, an inventive, just special coach in the NFL. It's nothing we haven't seen since Belichick, I think.
I think the duo of Goff and McVay, I think that's going to be the next Belichick and Brady duo.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I already think that the Rams are going to be Super Bowl champions. Maybe this year, maybe even next year. I'm not gonna take them out of the equation.
I feel like they might have had a chance had Sean McVay not gotten his own head. I think McVay even says it. He had too much time to prepare. He overthought it. He overanalyzed everything, and then all of a sudden, I think if he'd gotten maybe a week to prepare, I think he would have been in a lot better shape for that. Because if you look at it, they did really well in defense. They kept them really low. It was literally one play that pretty much killed them. And, Goff had not a very good game as well, and he should have gotten in the end zone a few times. That could have gone another way. That really could have. And that team is still really good, and they still have a chance. Obviously the Patriots are buffed up with that Antonio Brown signing, but when he's gone, who knows if he's even going to play. So, I think the Rams have a good chance of getting out of that NFC and going into the Super Bowl again. I wouldn't be surprised if they got there and won.
They have such a solid squad with all their wide receivers. They have Woods, they have Kupp, I know I'm missing one more receiver.
Robert Woods,
Cooper Kupp.
I'm missing Robert Woods, one more. Cooks,
that's the receiver right there. They have such a solid...
even the tight ends are good. And the crazy thing about that was, they were talking about Robert Woods was, I think, on his Instagram. He only got 2 targets. He mentioned he only had 2 targets. He's like, I don't care. That's the thing about it. There's a cohesive in that wide receiver group. Something that you don't see when you have, Antonio Brown, for example. The Steelers didn't have that for a long time. There's a bunch of stuff like that. And this team is a team. Chemistry is insane on it. So this is just one of those things where it feels like the perfect storm. Sorry I've been taking all your time here, but... Yeah.
No, I definitely think that the Rams have a big-time shot this year. I'm still waiting for a Kansas City and a Rams Super Bowl. You were just talking about the Monday Night Football last week, and it broke records on the highest-scoring Monday Night Football game, Chiefs and Rams. And as soon as I finished seeing that game, I just thought, why isn't this a Super Bowl yet? This needs to happen right now.
We literally bought the tickets to that game thinking that was a Super Bowl pre-match. We literally thought that. Obviously Tom Brady, never counted Tom Brady, but I thought we got cheated out of that because I thought that would have been a much better game. Because first off, the Chiefs don't defend. The Chiefs don't have good defense. So that would have been a high-scoring game, and it would have been fun. And that was what was crazy about that game. And that game, Gurley didn't do that good. And that's the other thing you got to think about the Super Bowl. They were banged up. Gurley was hurt. Gurley was not Gurley in that game. And they didn't have Cooper Kupp. So that could have been different in that Super Bowl. It really could have. And they played that Chiefs game without Cooper Kupp.
And they still put up some monstrous numbers in that matchup.
It was the highest scoring game in Monday Night Football, right?
It was. It broke history. That's the highest.
It felt like it, man. It just felt like there was no... The only times they got to stop was when, I forgot the lineman's name. M'Baku? Oh, God, what is his name? He's on here somewhere. I don't want to get it wrong. Ebicam, that's him. Ebicam, he got a defensive touchdown, which I did not think was going to happen that game. And there was 2 fumbles, I think, forced by Aaron Donald because, Aaron Donald. It was just an insane game, and that's just one of the things I love about modern football. As much as I miss the run game and the emphasis on that and the kick returns and all that, it is crazy fun how these gunslingers are going now.
Rams, we're expecting them to have a good year, but now let's talk about some Chargers.
That's a questionable one.
That one... I was watching that game, Lions and Chargers, and I'm just scratching my head thinking, how did the Chargers lose that one? They gave that one away.
Yeah, that's one of those things with the Chargers. They have this... It's weird. They're, on paper, a great team. Obviously, they're injured. They're really hurt. They've got, I think they're bringing Antonio Gates back from the dead to come play. I know he's not dead, but still. Just feels that way.
Out of retirement, really.
Yeah, out of retirement again, it feels like. This dude's being pulled out of retirement with Michael Jordan. And it's just one of those things where they're hurt. They've got their starter running back is on contract situations, which personally I think the 2 they have are working fine. I think, Melvin Gordon really messed himself up by doing that. But also, the biggest one, Derwin James. Derwin James is hurt, and he's a phenomenal player in the defensive end. And that's really hurting them, I think, defensively. And that you can see because players like teams like the Lions are getting points. And the Lions are, well, the Lions. I mean, they haven't been good.
They're not going to
They haven't been good. I don't think they've ever been good as long as I've been alive. They've had Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders retired early because he couldn't stand doing that. It's like, I can't keep being beaten up to get knocked out of the first round if not even going into the playoffs at all. But I think that's one of those things with the Chargers. They have a decent team. It's just always early on, something unfortunate happens. Like, they got fortunate last week because old reliable and Vinatieri missed kicks for once. And now, they just drop a game to the Lions. I mean, I know the Lions surprise a team each year. They did with the Patriots last year, but I just feel like the Chargers, they're this close to making a huge step. And the worst part is about that is they need to make that huge step because they're playing a tough division because the Chiefs are in it. I mean, who cares about the Raiders? I mean, the Broncos, like, blah. The Broncos are never going to figure it out now. They got lucky with Peyton Manning, and after that, they can't get anything else going. But the Chargers are literally in a division where they can just beat the Chiefs, which I know is a tall order, but they're close.
You're asking for a lot already.
Yeah.
Just by trying to beat the Chiefs.
You're asking for a lot, but, Phillip Rivers is a damn good quarterback. Their running backs are pretty good. They got decent receivers. I mean, maybe they could upgrade a few things here and there, but they're a team that could be good. I mean, they are good. They got to the playoffs last year. They do a good job of what they do. It's just, you're fighting for a walk-off spot every year. So, that's the big thing I think about the Chargers is the Chargers, I thought they should have gone big and gone for Antonio Brown when he left the Raiders. I mean, obviously, now looking back at it, I probably wouldn't have touched that with the way he's going. And, looking back at that whole Raiders situation, I wouldn't have touched it probably then either. But, extra receivers could be good, like sustainable receivers, like a deep, like, I mean, this is a tall order ask for the Rams core, but the Rams don't have a top-tier receiver. They don't have a Michael Thomas. They don't have a Julio Jones. They have very good receivers, but they have a lot of them. And that's why I think they have one of the better receiving cores in the league. The Chargers, I mean, you don't think of them that way. You think of them as Phillip Rivers gets them down, the defense holds everything out. And I think there's a chance that they could really do something if they can add to that.
I think they need to do a better job taking care of the ball. Personally, I mean, Rivers threw an interception and then 2 turnovers, 2 fumbles, and it was just ugly, Brent. It was. I remember
that was the Chargers.
Game. The Chargers were in the 1-yard line, and they were in the Lions side of the field. They're on the 1.
They fumbled the end zone.
They fumbled the ball, and then the Lions did the same thing. They fumbled the ball too. It's just, was the circus there in Detroit or something? But it was just ridiculous how the Chargers were playing, and you can't be losing to these teams that are not contending. If you're the Chargers and you expect to go back to the playoffs, you need to beat these uncontending teams, and when you play against these contending teams, you need to be even better, especially when they're going to play against the Chiefs. I still think that's going to be money football right there to watch. I still think it's going to be a fun one to watch. It's going to be a real good battle between both QBs. But, I mean, I think the Chargers can still be in the mix of things, but they just can't be slipping and making mistakes with these non-contending teams thinking, we're going to get away with it. No, you're not going to get away with it because you just got beat against the Lions.
Yeah, when you face the Lions, you need to smack them. You need to smack them. You need to be like, no, you are the Lions still.
We're gonna beat you.
Yeah, here's another one just for good luck. That's what happens. That's the thing. Like the Colts game, the first in week 1, the Colts are still, in my opinion, close to a playoff team. They lost Andrew Luck, but Brissett doesn't look bad. The only thing that kept them from winning that game was Adam Vinatieri, for some reason, just getting struck by Father Time's magical bolt of lightning. And that's just one of those crazy moments where the Chargers got lucky in the opposite way. Because normally in the week 1, they get beat by kicks. They normally get beat by kicks or their own kicks. And it's just one of those things where they're a team that I think is doing pretty good and gets very unfortunate. But then you have inexcusable losses like this one, where you should have put up 30. You should have put up a lot more than what you did. I remember that game was in the teens. And that's not good if you're a team that has aspirations of going deep in the playoffs.
It finished, 13-10, and it finished with the Lions hitting a field goal. And even then, the final game was Phillip Rivers getting picked off. He went straight to the end zone, gunning it, and I believe the target was to Williams going to the end zone, and it was an easy interception for the Lions defense. He was getting double teamed there in the end zone, and you see the safeties coming in and just swooping the ball right out of Williams' hands right there, and it was an easy interception, and that's how the game ends. And it's just, if you're Phillip Rivers, that's how you want the game to end, just like that, an interception. You should have. Here's a little controversy, Brent. I don't know if you know about this, but Phillip Rivers didn't want to go for a field goal to tie things up. He was going more to, I want to gun it, win the game, let's go home. Whereas they didn't really even trust their kicker because their kicker was even messing up during the games. This guy was missing field goals left and right, and he couldn't even get it. So I understand the decision that Phillip Rivers is going for.
Chargers luck kickers, man. Chargers luck kickers.
The kickers always seems to be a position that's always.
If you're really a kicker, if you're a kicker watching this and you have NFL aspirations, even if you get the chance to live your dream, don't go to the Chargers. It'll ruin your career.
That's I don't know, something maybe bad luck, something in their water or something.
Well, that's the weird thing because now their water's the same as the Rams, and they got Greg Zuerlein, so I don't know.
I hope Greg Zuerlein doesn't be drinking that water anything. So
I mean, he had that injury that one year though. Remember the year they lost the Falcons when they had
yes,
Ficken, I think his name was. Yeah. So that's so maybe he got the wrong water fountain that day. I don't know, but that's one of those things. That team they have the tools, but something happens. Phillip Rivers has a horrible game like that. Or just bad timing and bad moments. It's just a weird thing about the Chargers, and it's one of those things that's going to keep them away from it, which is why I think personally they will not get there. I think she's had that division locked down for the next 5 to 10 years.
It's true, and you're talking about ruining kicks, and you know what? We're going to talk about USC losing by a field goal.
Speaking of late interceptions.
And late interceptions, and for BYU, we can say it's an upset because USC, ranked number 24, BYU not ranked, beating the Trojans that time. A little bit of a disappointing loss.
A little bit of a disappointing loss, I agree, but I wasn't surprised. I mean, USC is in obviously clearly a better situation than their rivals UCLA. But even then, I still didn't turn them all. They're still talking about who's going to be the next coach while the coach is still there. They are getting a new AD as we speak, looking for that. There was talk of Urban Meyer, which now has been canceled apparently. Sounds like their president does not want Urban Meyer, which honestly at this point you don't want him. I know he's a great coach. He'll win. He'll do everything you need him to do. But after you just had that scandal of admissions, you need to have security, safety, and more importantly, sanctity. As you call it, an upset. Now, I saw the end of it on a plane, so I saw a grainy, little tiny video of it. Honestly, the way Keaton Slovis is playing, I wasn't big on the idea of calling it an upset. I think I like Slovis. I think he's a decent player, but I don't think he's ready for that. I mean, he's a 3-star coming out of high school. Yeah, trained by Kurt Warner and all that, but and to grand, USC's had a rough season. I mean, JT Daniels is out for the season. Like, I think he pretty much destroyed his knee, like every single part of that knee in one play.
It's just like
which is insane. Right, and now this team's in turmoil. Like, it's kind of interesting how college football in Southern California is in this weird ether of just, I don't know what's going on. Like, they have a new president. The new president is keeping away from Urban Meyer, which I support. I think that when the new AD comes in, there's probably going to be a coaching change. And I think, honestly, the best thing for them to do is to stay away from USC people and just do something brand new, try to mold into the new college system, and evolve. It's always been our guys. We're Trojans. We get Trojans. We get Pete Carroll. We get Stark. We get people related to Pete. People related to the previous guys. Can't do that. You can't do that anymore. You have to move forward. And that's why USC really needs to look out. That's why, like, Cliff Kingsbury would have been a good head coach. I mean, I know he didn't win much at Texas Tech, but, and I mean, he's probably not going to win much at Arizona, but still, it's new. And that's one of the things that I think would have been good for them. But now it's one of those things where they're going to have to look into the future in a different way. And now they got to do it mid-season, which is also complicated, and their team is somewhat competitive. I mean, they got great receivers. The quarterback's okay. He turns the ball over a bit too much. Decision-making isn't that great, I think, especially late in the game. I mean, he blew the game. He threw that pick. Like, he had a chance to respond, and he threw a pick. And that won the game for Brigham Young. Brigham Young didn't win that game. Keaton Slovis lost that game. That's the honest to God truth about that.
It's going to be a tough Pac-12 South Division. I mean, I don't know if Utah is going to repeat again.